problem with that is that very often the subconscious takes over in moments where it would be better to stay more aware, more conscious, more rational. And now if the subconscious takes over when you're trying to reach a certain goal or do something very specific, and the subconscious says, well, whatever you want to achieve, it's not safe for you. Based on what we learned in the past, I don't think this is a good idea. It takes over and brings you on autopilot away from where you want to go. One of the things that I feel like impacted me the most, that I only realized like many years after, and it has to do with the 5 languages of love. Yes, and it's amazing, I feel like, for understanding any type of relationship where you feel like you're not getting enough out of the relationship and you're always overgiving. Because often what happens in these relationships is that you love in a different way than the other person can receive, or they love you in a different way than you can understand. But my love language is physical touch and also like affirmations. I was always looking for the relationships and the friendships that filled this need of the love languages that I could speak. Right. Which then brought me into relationships that were definitely not the best ones, that brought me into situations that were definitely not the best ones. It took me a long time to actually understand, okay, there was a void that was created in my childhood. To be honest, in that moment when I received the diagnosis, there was a part of me that didn't want to believe it to protect me from feeling. I kind of felt like, like I failed at life, like I'm broken. There was so much shame and judgment that I gave towards myself because I was like, all of my life I've been trying to do everything perfect, and now this, what's wrong with me? And then second of all, I need to understand that I'm not broken, that I haven't failed at life, and release the shame and the judgment and start to forgive myself and start to come back to loving myself before I could even be like, okay, yes, this is the diagnosis I have, I accept it.
Hi, everyone. It's podcast day and welcome back to the Zen and Now podcast. Today, I'm sitting down with Christine Peine, subconscious and identity architect, traveler, burnout advocate, and a medtech founder who went through her own healing journey and came out stronger on the other side. We'll be talking about burnout, healing, identity, and learning how to reconnect with yourself again. Welcome, Christine.
Thank you so much for the welcome. I'm excited to be here.
Excited to have this conversation with you as well, because I think what you're doing and what you've gone through, I think so many people are actually living that experience now and just trying to find people who actually can advocate for that and provide some of the resources and just a bit of help so that they can say, okay, this is what I can do to manage my current living situation or whatever is going on in life. And that's how we just want to live our authentic self, is trying to reconnect to ourselves. So before we even begin to unlock and unpack everything, for those who are listening to this right now and thinking to themselves, what is a coach or somebody who works on a deeper level from a subconscious?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's a good question. And to really break it down very, very simply, starting from the beginning, we all have our human psychology, we all have our mind, our mindset, and we know our mind brings us to different places, whether they are good or whether they are bad. I mean, really depends on your life experience. Now, if we look at the mind, there's really 2 parts to it. We can break it down into the conscious mind, which basically is like the logical part where you plan, you dream big, you take the actions, and really you're rationally thinking about things. That's about 5 to 10% of your cognitive function of your mind. The other 90 to 95%, that second part, that is the subconscious. And the subconscious stores all of our past beliefs, memories, traumas, also good moments, of course, and kind of creates this file of data. And our body, our mind uses this file of data to decide what is safe for us, because the subconscious, its main function or its main job for us is to make sure that we survive. So on a very primitive level, it makes sure that our heart beats, that our digestion works, that we're breathing, that we're not having to think about all of this all the time and the body just does the functions. But what it also does, it makes sure that we do certain actions without thinking about it. For example, if you drive to work, sometimes we get into this autopilot. We arrive at work and we're like, how did I even get here? I don't remember like any of the crossings, the streets, the cars, nothing. This is when your subconscious takes over. This is when you get into this autopilot because there's nothing important in that moment. You don't need to think about it. It's like quite literally the subconscious is like, okay, let me take over. We make sure we get there. Problem with that is that very often the subconscious takes over in moments where it would be better to stay more aware, more conscious, more rational. And now if the subconscious takes over when you're trying to reach a certain goal or do something very specific, and the subconscious says, well, whatever you want to achieve, it's not safe for you. Based on what we learned in the past, I don't think this is a good idea. It takes over and brings you on autopilot away from where you want to go. So this is where I come in as a coach. I help people to find these blocks where their subconscious takes over, release these blocks and really make sure that the subconscious understands, okay, whatever you want to achieve, it's safe for you. It's okay for you. We can get there. I can actually help you to get there instead of like moving you away from it.
Yeah. How does one begin to actually understand, okay, this is the exact coach that I need? Because it's not something that a lot of people would actually look for. And, like general therapy, you go and talk about grief, trauma, anxieties, those kind of things. When somebody comes to you or reaches out to you, in your perspective, what is it that they're looking for when they're actually looking for your help?
Well, usually people that come to me often have gone through therapy already. Maybe they have worked with a mindset coach. Maybe they have done a lot of journaling, a lot of inner work. But even though they have done all of this work on themselves, the same patterns keep on repeating. Like even though they went to therapy and they talked about, for example, this feeling of not being good enough or not feeling good enough to do something, but the feeling is still there. They're still playing small in certain areas of their life. Or they have a repeating pattern of a procrastination. Or maybe they have a repeating health issue that seems to come up randomly at certain moments. So that's usually people that come to me because there's stuff that no matter how much inner work they do, they just can't seem to release it. And that's usually the case for that is when there's really deeper blocks in the subconscious holding on to that. And then it's like, yes, you can talk about it until the end of your life. You're not going to change it by talking about it. And that's when I come in to make sure we find these deeper things and actually release them. So these patterns are then also leaving their life.
Yeah. I'm curious. You've got me thinking about it as well. Just from a base perspective, somebody comes to you on their first session. What can they expect to learn in that first session, and how do then they keep coming back to you regarding that? The reason I ask is a lot of the time we create expectations in our minds of what we want out of a session, and then when we leave, it's totally the opposite. How do you navigate somebody's expectation just to allow them to be with that subconscious instead of just working with it?
Mm-hmm. Yes, very good question. So I would say the main focus in a session with me is not so much to learn. I feel like there is a lot of information out there. There's a lot of learning you can do. There is a lot of, you know how we're like in this information age? I also feel like we got lost a little bit in this awareness age where it's all about like, I need to understand this. I need to understand where this comes from. And then you analyze it and analyze it and analyze it and nothing changes. So this is not what we're doing in a session. When someone comes to me, they come with a very specific block, a repeating pattern, a very specific struggle. And then what we do is we find what are the beliefs, the emotions behind that got stored in their subconscious that are retraining that. And then instead of just talking about it and understanding that and like going around that in the session, we actually change that. So when we find the root belief, we use the body to measure that it's actually that belief, because often the mind tells us a lot of things of what is true, but then when we look at the body, it's absolutely a different thing. So
Yeah.
we start to measure for that in the body. Then we actually reprogram that, which means we take out this old belief, we put in the new belief that's more empowering, and we install the feelings with that. And then what happens with that? It's not an understanding. It's something that changes your DNA, that changes every cell of your body and aligns with this new belief, this new level of being. So actually you change a part of your identity in that session. And if the beliefs we found are the only ones that are creating this issue, after the first session, this issue can be gone. Whether this is repeating anxiety that you have since you were born, whether this is a health issue, or whether this is something else. There's more beliefs, then we need to do more sessions to also clean out the rest to actually make sure this issue is eliminated.
Yeah. Okay, I'm coming to you if I have a core belief issue, because you said
Yes.
Yes, something just also happened to me quite recently over the last 6 months is I kind of realized my core problem, and it took me years to actually figure that out. But I had to go through all of the work, and I think a lot of people don't understand. It's not a quick fix as well. It's not just one session and you're done and you go on about your life. It's continuously every single day you have to practice these learnings that you get and implement them to do something different than what you're actually doing. Like you mentioned earlier, we work on autopilot when we go to work. Oh, I know this traffic light takes 30 seconds. I know, okay, I'm going to wait just to get there before it turns and I can go. We live on that experience as well. In that moment, did you realize in your own life, when did that happen to you to realize, okay, I am living on autopilot mode. I need to change something. And this is how I'm going to do it.
I think there were many moments of evolution. Let's see. I feel like the first most impactful one was when I was actually diagnosed with burnout, when the doctor was sitting in front of me and was like, okay, based on everything we did here, I diagnosed you with burnout. And I was like, a part of me was like, I don't believe you. Like, it's nice that you're telling me this, but I don't believe you. And I got off the call and I had to start to get really honest with myself and thinking, okay, if a doctor tells me that I'm diagnosed with burnout, maybe there's a little bit of truth towards this. So I started to get really honest with myself and looked at my life and realized that I had been running on this autopilot for a lot of areas in my life. I was just into founding a company. I think we were in the third year, I guess. And like all of the years before, I was just like working, being on all the time, feeling overly responsible for all the things, feeling like if someone gave us like feedback to the product, even if it was constructive feedback, feeling like they were personally attacking me.
Oh,
And so
okay.
like continuing to work with like all of these perfectionistic qualities. And of course, if you do that over a long period of time without even realizing, I mean, in these moments, I wasn't even realizing what I was doing to myself and to my body. Then of course you end up in I feel like in either a mental health issue or a physical health issue. The body
Yes.
at one point will be like, it's too much. You need to stop here. And so this moment of like being diagnosed with burnout was like, okay, what have I been doing with my life? And now how do I get out the other side? And that's where I started. That's when I started my healing journey and look more into, okay, what is actually going on inside of me? What can I do to heal? And that was a process. That was really a process over time. And that was also a time where I still thought, yeah, if I start to journal, if I do a few affirmations, maybe I go on a holiday, like this will fix it. But then of course you go on the holiday 1 week later and you're like, well, this
I'm
didn't
back.
fix it. Exactly.
Yeah.
And then after that, I started to like, I felt like, okay, I got more intentional. I got more like aware and conscious with myself. But other health issues then started to pop up. So I was like, okay, why? Why is this happening now, even though like on the healing road? And of course, I tried to heal, I tried to do different things, but none of the things I found really healed the things, really brought me out of these patterns. And that's when I think the second impactful moment happened, where I was just so fed up with where I was that I was like, okay, I need to do something deeper. And I got across, I think, a post on Instagram talking about the subconscious, and was like, okay, this is interesting. I have no idea about it, but let's go down the rabbit hole of studying that, of understanding what's behind that. And that's, I feel like, when then the second moment came in, of really understanding that we have this identity and that we need to change the root of that identity and not just work at the surface level. And that's then when I made the second progress into healing my health issues, into healing my burnout, and coming out actually stronger and better on the other side. And then also from that deciding, okay, if it helped me so much, maybe it can also help other people.
Yeah. Did you feel like in that moment when you were diagnosed, how did you feel when the doctor actually said that to you? In that, what were your emotions? I know you mentioned that this can't be true, but inside, did you have an objection to it? Did you really feel? Because I want to share something with you with my own diagnosis. When I was diagnosed with depression, with major depression, I didn't see it. Similar to yourself, I told the psychiatrist or psychologist, no, man, this can't be it. I even asked her the question, do I look depressed to you? And she said yes, straight out, just flat out stressed. I mean, yes. Even when I was in the mental in the health in the mental hospital, let's call it for what it is. There was a moment I sat in the room because you share a room with with other patients, and I looked myself in the mirror and I realized, okay, it's true, because like you said, your physical structure changes. It's not just your mental stability, because your physical structure changes too. And that's when I realized, okay, there's something to it, because when you're living in that moment, you don't want to accept that this is going on with your life, because we always hold on to that. I can do everything right. I can be perfect. And when I make a mistake, okay, I know how to fix it, or I'll do something that will help me fix it. But as time goes on, we don't really do the right thing. Uh, so we continue on that pattern, and it continuously comes back to us in some form of way, where we're not managing that expectation of ourselves, not just that, but because of anything around us. I think it's a more of an internal thing, where we want to be right and we want to do the right thing all the time and succeed at X, Y, and Z. And I felt in that moment, I didn't feel sad. I felt accepted, to give it that, just to sum it up. Was it something that you felt as well, that, okay, this is something that I am accepted now in that spectrum, and now I can do something about it?
Hmm. I had that feeling of acceptance a lot later. To be
Okay.
honest, in that moment when I received the diagnosis, there was a part of me that didn't want to believe it, to protect me from feeling. I kind of felt like I failed at life, like
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm broken. Like there was so much shame and judgment that I gave towards myself, because I was like, all of my life I've been trying to do everything perfect, and now this, what's wrong with me?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
were the patterns and thoughts going through my mind. And that's why a part of me was like, this can't be true, because if this is true, you're broken, you did something wrong, like you failed. And so for me, it took me like really some time to be like, okay, first of all, yes, I need to accept this as true. And then second of all, I need to understand that I'm not broken, that I haven't failed at life, and release the shame and the judgment, and start to forgive myself and start to come back to loving myself before I could even be like, okay, yes, this is the diagnosis I have, I accept it. But that took some time for me.
Yeah. Why do you think we love like that, or we want to love life like that, just be perfect all the time? I know I'm asking, it's a little bit of a subconscious question, but sometimes we don't want to be looked as imperfect. Actually, we just want to be on the surface level, do all the right things, and when we do make a mistake and are held accountable for it, it's a bit difficult to accept that we have done something that's not aligned with maybe with other the other side is seeing it, and learning to accept that information, work with it, and then do better the next time. Because end of the day, we're not perfect. I have kind of realized I'm not going to make every decision that I go into and make the right one. Sometimes I'm going to fail at it and just learn from it. But trying to not make the same mistake again and again and again. I think that's where you come in, where you work on the subconscious mind, right? Is that right? Where you
Yes.
learn those
Yeah,
patterns.
exactly. And I mean, it's patterns, it's conditioning. It's conditioning we picked up somewhere in our childhood to be like, okay, if we do everything perfect, if we do A, B, C, D, we will be loved. We will receive like this feeling of belonging and connection. And as humans, we all strive for that. That's like, I mean, if you think back to the times when we were living in caves, if you didn't belong, if you were not part of the tribe, if you weren't loved and you got rejected from the tribe, you probably were eaten by a lion or some other animal or something bad happened to you. So quite literally, as humans, we strive towards that belonging. We strive towards that love. That's just our human biology. And now we're conditioned in our childhood. I mean, and it's not always our parents that do that, and they don't do that on purpose. It's just something how society has been structured in a way. Okay, you have to be the good person. You have to do this. You have to be good at school. You have to, I don't know, get this job and do all of these things. And our subconscious picks that up and says, okay, if I do all of these things right, I will be loved. I will belong. I will be safe. And now suddenly someone comes in and tells you, you didn't do the things right. You didn't do the things good enough. And now you also have like this mental or physical problem, and the subconscious is like, oh my God, we're going to die. No one's going to love us. And then like all of the shame, the judgment, everything starts to run around in our heads.
Yeah. I think our fight or flight mode kicks in quite intensively in that moment.
Very intensively, yes.
So, yeah. Panic attacks happen. Breathing goes out the window. You forget about everything that you've done in life. And in that moment, it just comes crashing down. And I think that's where some of, close people to me haven't had the awareness to say, okay, take a step back, just breathe. Yeah, everything will be okay. And kind of just went and have, taken their lives, or worse, have made another decision upon a bad decision, and just the chain, the incorrectness of the decision keeps happening again and again and again. And I had that moment, I think, in a couple of years back, where I just kept making the same mistakes. But I didn't want to accept that that was something that I needed to work on. Only after I was admitted and went through the whole process, and I came out to that understanding, okay, I need to make a change. Otherwise, I am gonna, long term, it's not gonna be good for me or for people around me, because it just doesn't affect you, right? It has a ripple effect of your whole network around you. And that's what I had to understand. It just doesn't affect me, because my actions will affect my wife or colleagues or friends, whatever it is. But in that moment, we're just so focused on tunnel vision. We just want to get to the light. And that's how when you're navigating all of that in your own experience, did you feel like you were letting people down? You didn't have the ability to just focus on yourself, and the end goal was just to get to the light and then start to engage with others as well.
Yes, I mean, literally what I did was, after I've been diagnosed, I booked a holiday for a week, and I was like, okay, this holiday is going to fix everything. So I went on the holiday together with my best friend, and in the week of the holiday, we went to the Canary Islands. I realized, okay, 1 week, it's not going to fix this. So like 24 hours before the flight departed to go back to Barcelona, where I live, I was like, I cannot go back. Like quite literally, I cannot go back. I cannot stay with the roommates I was living at the time. I cannot go back to the company that I was running. It just felt too much. So in these 24 hours, I was like, okay, if I find a place to live, I will stay. And I found a place to live. In 24 hours, I don't know how it happened, some miraculous intervention. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to stay here. I texted my roommates. I was like, I'm not going to come back. I come back in some time. The company I was running with others, I was like, okay, I'm just going to I work less. I do like the bare minimum, whatever is needed, but I can't do this right now. And yes, I was feeling like in the beginning, I was feeling like I was letting other people down. I was letting my co-founders down. I was letting all of the patients that we were helping and serving at the time down because I couldn't put all of me, but I had to put my energy into helping and supporting myself, into healing myself. It's really what you always hear. You need to fill your own cup first. And my cup was empty, so I had no chance of giving to others. But of course, that added to the shame and the feeling of brokenness of like not being able to function in my role that my subconscious and myself were giving to myself. And it took some healing. It took time and forgiveness and practice of being like, okay, well, this is what I needed at this moment. I did the right thing. And then I filled my cup up again, and then I can come out and I can actually participate again in this life that I had before.
Yeah. Right. So important that you said that, fill your own cup first. And it's a broader discussion in that it's not selfish to fill your own cup first. I think a lot of the times we feel that it's selfish just to focus on yourself, focus on your healing, but it's not about just filling your own self and, oh, I'm going to just look after myself and forget about everything else. I think a lot of the times we must understand that we give so much. I think like yourself and myself, we give so much and we expect it to be returned to us because we're doing a good deed or we're doing something. But it's not about that. It's just about ensuring that there's enough for everything that is required. Like, the plane analogy, or when they do the safety checks, you put your mask on first before you help somebody else. Because if you're suffocating, you can't put on a mask for somebody else. It doesn't work, right? So just want to roll back or go back to your upbringing and your childhood and where you grew up. You just give us a little bit of backstory of your upbringing and your childhood and what was that like?
So I'm from Germany, and I grew up in Germany in this tiny town of 2,000 people.
Wow,
And
2000.
yeah,
I'm sure everybody knew everything about everyone.
you know everybody, exactly. You know everybody, and you know the people from the other towns, and like everybody knows everybody. And I mean, physically, tangibly, money-wise, I had everything. Like my parents, they had bought a big house. It had the garden. It was like the perfect German family that you can imagine. My dad going to his job. My mom was at home, like looking after me and my sister. And I mean, I went to school. I always had everything. Like in terms of like, if you look at like the tangibles. And my parents, of course, they were doing the best that they could with the knowledge and the tools they had at this time. But there was a lot of things that they haven't worked through because they didn't know how to, or I mean, yeah, because literally they didn't know how to. One of the things that I feel like impacted me the most that I only realized like many, many, many years after, and it has to do with the 5 languages of love. I don't know if you ever heard about them, but there's 5 languages. Okay. So for someone who doesn't know, okay, perfect. So for someone who is listening and doesn't know, there's 5 languages of how people love each other. It can be experiences, like you sharing love through experiences, through gifts, through words of affirmations, physical touch, like hugging and like this close connection. And the 5th one I always forget. I don't know if you remember.
Acts of service. I think it's acts of service.
Acts of service. Exactly. I always forget like one.
If you guys aren't sure, I'll put a link in the description to the book if you want to check it out. It's an amazing book if you want to learn about this.
Yes, and it's amazing, I feel like, for understanding any type of relationship where you feel like you're not getting enough out of the relationship and you're always overgiving. Because often what happens in these relationships is that you love in a different way than the other person can receive, or they love you in a different way than you can understand.
Yes.
So my parents, their love languages are acts of service. I mean, that's their main thing. Acts of service and giving gifts. So they gave me everything. They did the things. They drove me to school. We booked the holidays. Like, they gave everything they could. But my love language is physical touch and also like affirmations. And my parents, they never told me I love you because they don't know how. Their parents never told them. They love me, but they show it in a different way. They just can't say it. They hug me very little because their parents never did that, and they just don't know how to hug and have this physical touch. So for my entire childhood, I felt like I always have to prove myself. Like, if I'm good enough in school, if I'm the best in my class, if I do all of this, if I'm perfect, my parents will love me. Like, without realizing that they already love me, but I just can't speak their language. I don't understand. And so that created a lot of problems for me afterwards in relationships and friendships, because of course I was always looking for the relationships and the friendships that filled this need of the love languages that I could speak.
Right.
Which then brought me into relationships that were definitely not the best ones, that brought me into situations that were definitely not the best ones. It took me a long time to actually understand, okay, there was a void that was created in my childhood, for which I was so perfectionistic, for which I was like overworking, for which I was doing all of these things that then led me to my burnout and led me to other issues that I just didn't understand. But I mean, it's nothing bad that my parents did. It's just they didn't know either.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this short break. Take a second to hit that subscribe or follow button on whatever platform you're listening on. Subscribing means you won't miss a single episode, and it also helps more people discover the show.
Yeah, thinking about it now, looking back, I think my mom and dad also, their love language was acts of service, and those kind of wasn't really much physical touch of physical acts of love, or even words of maybe now and then words of affirmation. But generally, if I look back at our societies, it's more about acts of service, giving back, or I will do this for you and you X, Y, and Z. But I think the two most unused are probably that words of affirmation and physical touch. I don't think those are kind of used a lot in our societies. I'll be honest. And like you said, I totally resonate with what you're saying. I brought also those kind of learnings into my relationships. But my wife was really much in tune with the other sides of the languages and acts of service. She was more affirmation. She was physical touch, those kind of things. I wasn't used to that. I tried to give as much as I could, but from a male perspective, I wasn't expressing what I needed back because I didn't understand it. I think that's where there's a disparity in kind of now between your female and male energies, where we always want to just step into our male energies and not express how we feel, because that's kind of how society kind of, how you say, navigated us through life, or those were the set rules, right? And that's how the kind of on the subconscious level, we just lived on autopilot. I mean, we lived on autopilot. Do good work, you get rewarded, and go on. And each phase of life, you'll be rewarded in that way. But there's moments that kind of break that chain, and that's where we need to learn how to understand. Okay, life is going to happen, change is going to happen. That's okay. Change is part of life. It's okay to feel freaked out, neurotic, whatever it is in that moment. It's okay, because that's how as human beings, we don't want to be perfect. We're not perfect at all times. However, sometimes it's just easier to put it down on something so that you can see it tangible. You can, okay, this happened to me, and how can now I try to navigate this kind of scenario better with the learnings that people come to you with? Because then it doesn't feel so much of a heavy burden, because the subconscious is like that iceberg under the water. It's that massive crater underneath, and the surface level is this small.
Yeah.
That's the best way I understand it. And I think that's the simplest way
It's
that I can
exactly like
understand
this.
it.
Yeah. There's another metaphor that actually my dad shared this once with me, and I was like, where do you even know this information from? The metaphor he used to describe the conscious and the subconscious mind was the conscious mind is like a little mouse. It's like, yes, you can like try to be like very disciplined and you can make sure that this mouse like is trying to go in the right direction. But the subconscious mind is an elephant. And if this elephant doesn't want to go somewhere or wants to go somewhere, the mouse will have a very hard time to make sure this elephant moves
Right.
into that direction. So it's very important to make sure the elephant is on board so that both of them can actually walk in the same direction.
Okay. So doesn't he lie to us then? Doesn't he lie to us? It's not that the elephant will be afraid of the mouse. You remember?
Well,
you remember that?
could be as well. If you like consciously pick up something, the elephant is like, oh my God, no. Yeah.
Sorry, Disney. I don't mean to. I'm just something we saw in cartoons, growing up, that.
Yeah. I know. I remember.
Tiny mouse. What is the tiny mouse? Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's just like how in our adult life, we're just beginning adult life. I think the 30s and 40s are just like in your infant stages of adult life. You're not totally an adult because you go through those phases of life, and how we're stepping into to learning all the unlearnings, and it's scary at times because what you thought was normal is not normal anymore. That's the kind of thing where most people are kind of struggling with now, what I picked up from. And the relevance of what we share is resonating with so many people. Within your close circles, do you see people now accepting that, okay, things are different in 2026, or are some people still, living in that past?
I feel like it depends a little bit on the bubble where I am, because definitely Barcelona is a bubble of people that are more conscious, that are more spiritual, that are doing a lot of work on themselves. There's a lot of like events here and groups here to like really go deeper. So I feel like the people I met here are often very aware of what's happening inside of them, and that how to manage that, how to feel that, how to move forward with that. If I go back to Germany and I sometimes talk to people from school or from university, I feel like usually women are a lot more aware and like learning and moving forward. Men sometimes. I mean, this is my personal experience. Not saying all men are like this, but I feel like
no, for sure,
men generally, yeah.
No, you're right.
Like
you're right.
men,
I agree with you there.
yeah.
It's the percentage of which demographic is which gender is actually doing more of the work. Women are actually in the higher percentile of that. Actually, that's the honest truth.
Yes. And I mean, it makes sense. I feel like women are more connected to their bodies, so it's easier to like start the process. I feel like men, on average, in general, not all of them, of course, are more like a little bit more rational, more like really into the logical mind. So then, of course, it takes some time to like first make this connection to the body, then first like understand what's happening inside. And also, I feel like there's a lot more stigma. Like for a woman to say, okay, I do meditation, I journal, I do all of this, it's like more like accepted. It's like normal. But if a man says, I'm journaling, I don't know, I go to therapy, sometimes it's like, okay, like, are you really a man? Like things, for me, it doesn't make sense, but it's still like, I feel like in some places, definitely there's still this stigma. And I feel like that is the problem, why often men don't feel like they can reach out, why they can't like ask for help, because it's like, if I ask for help, I'm weak. I'm not the good man. Like, I feel like it's a bigger step for them to actually make the ask.
Yeah. And that's where we need to break the narrative that it's not weak. It's not weakness. It's actually self-improvement. It's doing something for yourself to become that better man of what you feel or what you think it is. I journal, I color, full color. I love tech, so I love building things. I love doing things with my hands. That's the male side. And that's okay. I journal, I talk about my stuff online. I realize it's not a weakness to share what you're feeling, because a lot of the times it's like hot lava, right? If it has nowhere to go, it's gonna explode, and that's more dangerous than allowing it to flow a lot more smoothly from the volcano out. So, guys, if you're listening to this, don't feel like you don't have to uh, advocate for what you're doing, and if you're doing the work for yourself, do it for yourself. Don't feel like you're not much of a man if you color, if you journal, you write your thoughts down. We all learn to read and write. You know, do it the best way that you can for yourself. So don't feel like it's not manly to do those things. If you want a garden, something that brings you therapy or therapeutic means cooking. Most chefs are males nowadays. It's part of that, right? So I don't understand why we feel like we shouldn't be able to express how we feel, even in our relationships, right? I felt very early on I couldn't express how I was feeling because I had to be a man and learn to just take whatever is coming my way. But if something I felt was on my mind or on my chest that I didn't agree with my wife, I felt I had to come across as calmly or word it in a different way that doesn't hurt her feelings. But women, on the other hand, like you said, they're a little bit more in tune. So it's acceptable to do that. But now there's a lot of us are now learning to communicate in a better way. We don't have to say it in a bad way or in a harsh way. There's ways of saying it and start getting your message across. And how the other person receives it, that's out of your control. That's what I had to understand. I cannot control what the other side is going to receive or how they receive it. But if you speak your truth in that moment, which I'm still working on, it's every day. It's never going to end. I think for me, I've accepted that I have to do the work every single day. And that's the fun part of it. But you can't control how the other side receives that information. Did you struggle with that when you were in your relationships or in any form of relationship, when you try and express something and it's not what you want it to be or you want it to receive it? Did you struggle with that, or do you struggle with
I think in the past a lot more. I didn't know how to, like, I felt something inside and I didn't know how to express it. So either I didn't say something, or I went completely overboard and maybe said something that would hurt the other person because I didn't know how to manage my emotions or manage what was going on inside of me. And that was definitely, a learning curve that took some time. And one thing I wanna add to what you just said, um, for the men listening, I mean also for the women listening. But I have worked now with quite a few men, and men like in higher positions, like running companies, being leaders, a university professor. And what happens when they start to work on themselves, when they start to like clean out all of this old stuff, emotions, change their beliefs, and like really become a better version of themselves, it's not only that their relationships improve and like these personal life dynamics improve, but usually also the way they show up at work or the way they run their companies improve. Because all of this stuff affects our decisions day by day. So if we have like all of these traumas and all of these beliefs and emotions that we carry with us, we make decisions based on the past. Once we start to clean that out, the decisions become clearer. We can actually get more clear in our head. We become more productive. We actually, even in your work life, you become a better man by doing the inner work, because you're going to have a bigger impact. So I think it's like really important to understand, once you do this inner work, you become a better man in all areas of your life. Like right now, it's like you're missing out. I feel like you're missing out. Do the inner work.
Yeah. Look, I'm not advocating for everybody go and do it. It's just something that you have to come to terms with, that you need it. If it's something that you really feel like you want to go and do it, go on and do it. Like even for females, I don't think all females are doing the work. It's not like 100% of women are doing the work and 100% of men are not doing the work. But it's something that clicks inside of you, that that penny drop or that light bulb moment to say, okay, I need to do something differently. Because I have been realizing and noticing with myself lately is that cognitively, uh, making better decisions for myself, uh, even logically, or even trying to solve problems. Because I work in tech, problem solving is part of my core makeup. So if I don't have that key value or key element, I'm not going to be able to fulfill my obligation uh, in that workplace or even at home. So it all comes full circle. And I realized with just doing this kind of work, and just trying to do things a little bit better, even when I do something wrong, and make sure I acknowledge it. And like you said, you learn to become better, a version 2.0 or 3.0 of yourself. And everybody starts to really actually realize that and see that and feel that you yourself will be able to acknowledge that, oh, okay, my employees feel better. My company is starting to do really well. I am making better decisions. And even in my personal self, I feel calmer when something arises, pressure moments arise. I'm not as flustered as I am or I was before. And that's where the beauty of the inner work is shown. Those moments. It's not on the, oh, look at me, I'm on Instagram now, I'm doing great, and I'm going to a retreat, and I'm doing X, Y, and Z. But it's that inner work that nobody sees. That's where you realize that's where the real beauty of it lies. And it's the mess that you need to enjoy going through that will reap that reward of the external validation, so to speak. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes. No, I 100% agree to everything that you just said. Yeah. It's like, I always feel like, it's like when you or someone who wants to improve their nutrition, like you get a nutritionist and it's normal, and you get this person to help you to improve your diet. So I feel like our mind is like the tool that brings us through this entire life experience from the moment we're born until the moment we die. It's like, it's the organ that allows us to see the world, to smell it, to take in everything, to rationalize, to do our job. So it's kind of like, why are we not having people or more people, or bringing in the people that help us to master this amazing tool that helps us to take in life, to participate in the human culture? And I feel like over the last years, there is a boom. There is a boom in self-development. There's definitely a boom of where more people are starting to understand this, where it's becoming less of a stigma. And this, for me, this gives me hope. Like, the more people are starting to work on themselves, and either by themselves or just becoming more conscious or getting help, the better we become as humans, the better we become as a human species. And hopefully that then one day leads to the point where we can live together in peace, where we don't have to destroy the environment, where we don't have to do what we're doing right now. So I think that's also what you mentioned before, the bigger ripple effect of that work. Because yes, you are one person, but I think I'm not sure exactly the number anymore. I think it's like 150 people, that every person affects 150 people or 140 people around them. So imagine, yes, you're one person, but you're affecting these 140, 150 people. So if you're becoming better, you're rippling that out to everybody. And if more people of that are doing that, it's inevitable that one day we're actually a more peaceful, more connected with environment, human society, population.
Yeah. For sure. And living in South Africa and now in Canada, I had the opportunity to live both sides of the spectrum in terms of segregation and now inclusion as well. So I understand how difficult it was in the beginning. We were all segregated because of apartheid, and didn't have my parents or my grandparents didn't have the opportunities that we had. But because of freedom fighters and whoever has actually come up before us, have actually paved the way for us to now carry on, making the world a better place. And I feel sad when you hear things are happening in Palestine, Gaza, Israel, the war that's happening in Ukraine, and all of that stuff. It makes me sad because, on the one side, people are trying to do inner work, like myself, yourself, and who are advocating for good living, and on the other side, there's just total destruction and despair. And you want to come to some form of balance in between. Sometimes I feel like that's never going to happen, but there is hope that what we are trying to advocate for will catch on. If you throw enough honey, some fly is going to stick, so to speak.
Exactly,
Excuse me.
100%. Yes.
Yeah, and that's the only thing that I can say is that I just want to advocate for whoever is listening to this right now. Just understand that there is hope. I know that sometimes you're in the depths of the dark right now, but remember, guys, there's always light. There's always somebody there who can hold your hand and walk with you. It might not be your family. It might not be somebody that you feel that should be there for you. It's going to be an absolute stranger that comes across you and say, "Hey, I will walk with you and I will help you to that." But you yourself need to find some form of courage within yourself to say, "I need the help." That's why we do what we do in this time, in this day and age, because like you said, a man doesn't really come and say, "Hey man, I need help. I'm struggling with X, Y, and Z. I'm going to try and figure it out myself," before I actually get to that, where women are really more of social beings. They'll be a little bit more open to saying, "Hey, I need help from a girlfriend, a mom, any form of close connection." Where do you feel like we can improve in that way? Like yourself, myself, where can we improve to get people to understand it's okay to say when I need the help?
Very good question.
I know I put you I put you in a bit of
it's like a question to, I feel like, really to sit on and reflect on. So I'm maybe like more answers come up, but what first comes up is I feel like we're already doing a really good job by talking about this, by advocating for this, by you having the podcast that that reaches so many people and talking and bringing light to these topics. Because I feel like the first step is always awareness. And yes, there is like, it's for someone, it's like, okay, awareness is like, okay, I'm struggling. Then awareness, okay, I can actually ask people for help. And so I feel like talking about it, bringing more light to the situation. And then also bringing more light to the situation that, yes, you can be helped. And yes, there have been other people in your situation and they also made it out to the other side of the tunnel, to the light. So I feel like sharing these human stories is also a very powerful way for people to connect and be like, okay, if someone else made it, maybe I can also make it. Maybe I can also reach out and maybe my life can also improve. So I feel like for us to keep on doing what we're doing. But maybe if I ponder and sit more with this question, something else comes up, what else we can do. But I feel like it's like a deep question to really reflect on and sit with.
Okay, I've got you some homework to do.
Perfect,
I myself
yes.
also. Yeah, because I mean, it's easy for us to just sit here and just advocate and express, what has happened and what has worked for us. But sometimes we also need to ask ourselves, how can we also improve? Improve. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just the way life is. We just want to do better. So I do apologize if I did stump you with that question.
No, perfect. I love this question. I love questions like this because it really makes you think, where can I improve? Where's maybe this 1% I can do better tomorrow to help more people, to give more people hope. So that's always questions that are really important.
Yeah. I will sit with this and then, we'll come back offline, and try and share how we can improve. And you've done a lot of public speaking as well. Maybe you could share with us your just a short experience of what did that feel like in the beginning when you were asked to speak in front of an audience, and when did you realize, okay, this is something that's going to help not just my business but other people as well?
Well, when I first started, well, in the real beginning, before I even like ever thought about that I will ever stand on a stage, when I started my second business, I was like, I'm gonna open an Instagram account and use this as my first like little stage platform. And when I started with that, I was too scared to put my name there. I was too scared to put a picture there. Like when I opened this Instagram account, I don't know, but like in my mind, it was like, I'm gonna open this account without a picture, without a name, and still people will find out it's me and they're gonna laugh at me. You know, like kind of like what the mind does.
Yeah.
And then slowly I was like, okay, let's add a picture, let's add a name, let's add like different pieces to it. And like in the beginning, what I did, I was like I forced myself step by step, like now put a picture, now like speak on a story, because on the story it's only 24 hours. So after that, no one will see it anymore, as opposed to when you put it on your feed, it's there always.
Yeah.
So I did like these little steps, and that slowly brought in more opportunities of doing workshops, of like guiding people. But I never thought that I could get to a point where I actually stand on a stage and where there's like a lot of people, where there's hundreds of people in front of me, like listening to me. And that, for me personally, this was a lot of inner work I had to do before I could even be invited to a stage. For me, this was really a lot of reprogramming my beliefs, my subconscious, understanding what are the beliefs that are telling me that once I stand on a stage, people will laugh at me, people will judge me. I don't know, I will say something wrong, I will forget my text, like, all of these thoughts that are going through your head. And so the more I like started to reprogram and like let these beliefs go, like slowly like new things were coming in. And then there was one talk that was coming in that was in Mallorca that I did. And I feel like at that moment I healed so much of this fear that the moment I stepped on the stage, I just felt like a channel. It was just like I didn't exist, and it was like this channel where like the divine energy was flowing through me and just talking whatever needed to come out. And I saw in this moment, I saw the people in the room transform. I saw like there were people at the end crying, and I was like, this is what I'm meant to do. Like I felt it, because now I let go of all of the parts of me that were saying, you can't do this and you're going to say something wrong. That's the moment I like allowed this to happen. And from that moment on, like, yes, like more things are coming in, more stages to speak on. And it's just been like, now it's just fun. Like I'm excited. Yeah. Okay, when is the next time I can get on stage? But it was a process, definitely a process.
Yeah. Some people are meant to be on the stage, and I felt you feel like you don't belong, but you actually do belong in that moment. You realize when I began the podcast, I also had all those thoughts going through my head. How am I going to be received visually? How am I going to be received audially? Am I going to get my message across? Am I going to sound professional? Do I have the right tech? X, Y, and Z. And everything goes through my mind. But then in a moment, I just took a step back and I'm like, nope, just start. It's never going to be perfect. You're not going to get it right all the time. Things are going to happen. But that's okay. And I have lost my voice for so long. It's now time for me to share who I am and allow other people as well to be in a safe space to share who they are as well. Because I felt in a lot of the times in my life, I didn't feel seen. And I went always inwards and always afraid to express myself in a way that I knew what was normal. And like you said, when a divine light hits you, you just express yourself. You don't really care of what's around you, of who's going to say what to you. And, all of that just hits you and then bounces back off you. So that's why I advocate for, like, if somebody wants to start something right now, just like you said, in stages. Okay, open the Instagram account. Cool. One step done. You've already achieved something. Cool. Maybe give it a week or so. Feel a little bit more comfortable. You're learning the app. Add a picture, right? Like you did. You received you didn't get. We always think in our head it's going to be worse than what it actually is. Because when we put that picture out, is it the right picture? Do I look bad? Am I handsome enough? Do I have the right filter? Do I look good? X, Y, and Z. But then think yourself, this is me. Accept me for me. If I learn to accept me for me, then people will accept me for me. And if they don't, it's okay. Not everybody's going to like you. I don't like everybody. So why do I expect people to like everybody to like me? That's just the way it is. And then stages by stages, that's the way inner work, healing for me happens. It happens in stages. It just doesn't happen in a one-off and you heal. It happens in stages. And that's why take your time with it. It's going to be rough. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be great. It's going to be beautiful, but you're going to get there in the end. And I think I resonate a lot with your story because, like you said, you've always wanted to be seen and you didn't know how to be seen. But now that you found something you're calling, it becomes a natural way of living. And that's a beautiful thing because now you've taken what you've learned and now sharing it with the world or whoever comes to you. And that's like seva. We call it in Indian term seva. It's like giving back to the next person without wanting anything back in return. And that's a beautiful thing. What you're doing is seva for your colleagues, for your families, for your clients. And if somebody's listening to this right now who's feeling a little bit overwhelmed, even from this discussion, what would you want them to hear or anything that you'd like to share with them just to, make them feel a little bit at ease?
I think the most important thing a human being can understand is that no matter what has happened to them, no matter what they have done or not done, they are love and light. I truly believe this. Every single person who gets born in this human existence, at the core of their being, you are love and light. And like, period, like you are love and light. And then what happens? We start in this life and we accumulate all of these experiences and beliefs and all of these things that are kind of like layers that are wrapping themselves around this core, who you are of love and light. And this core stays the same, but you like just put the layers and the layers and the layers. And then you start to slowly attach yourself to these layers and forget that you're love and light and believe that, oh, suddenly I'm this layer and I'm not good enough and I can't do this and all of these blah, 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 blahs. So I feel like the most important step and also the simplest and the hardest is realizing, okay, if I feel shit right now, it's just one of these layers. It's just one of these experiences that I have picked up. But at the core of my being, no matter what has happened, no matter what I have done, no matter what has happened to me, I am love and light. And come back to that again and again and again and again. And maybe in the beginning, you have to convince yourself of it. Maybe you have to talk yourself into it. But then there comes a point where you feel it. And then you feel it a little bit longer and a little bit longer. And then you start to live your life, your days like this. And you're like, okay, yes, I'm love and light. That doesn't mean I don't have to heal anything. That doesn't mean I don't have to work through things. But at the core of my being, I'm not broken. I'm not bad. I'm not enough. At the core of my being, I'm love and light. And that's it. End of story. I feel like if everybody could just understand that, like, the world would be a totally different place. Like, if everybody would feel that and then act from that, yeah, that's really the world where I feel like anything could be possible. And yeah, I believe we can get there. Anything is possible.
So I like to take away something from each podcast. And today, I think today the takeaway is love and light. We'll take that away from today's podcast because I did feel a lot of love and light, but just having a chat with you, learning about your experiences and, how you understand life. And in saying living well, what does that mean for you, Christine?
I feel the same, like waking up every morning, knowing that your love and light, that like for me personally, I wake up in the morning and what I feel in my body, and that's living well for me, is I feel like anything is possible. Like no matter what I want to do today, it is possible. Maybe it's not going to happen today, but it's going to happen at another moment. And then I go out into the world. I go into I work with my clients. I go into my business. I go into my relationships and friendships. And I'm just like, okay, how can I spread this more? How can I enjoy this in the moment as well? And then no matter what happens, doesn't matter, because the intention, the foundation is already set. I feel like that's living well, very well for me.
And do you also have a soundboard? Because I know you are a soundboard for a lot of people. Do you have your own soundboard that you can go to when things aren't going a little bit astray?
Yes, of course. I feel like everybody who's serving other people and who's guiding other people is really important that we have a community that holds us. Definitely one of the biggest people that supports me, and that is my soundboard, is my partner. He's like, when I'm not in my love and light and I get lost in the layers, when I come to him, he's the one that reminds me again, well, this is who you are, like, don't get lost in this. Then, of course, also in my business, I have support to keep growing, because it can be lonely. It can be hard sometimes, doing new things, doing uncomfortable things. So also there is important to have like a coach, someone who holds you through that. And then also my friends that I see on a regular basis, to like share with them and just receive their love, even if they don't know what to say, like just receive a hug sometimes and like receive that energy. I feel like it's really important. I feel like there's no human in this world, no matter what we tell ourselves. We all need connection. We all need support in some way. And the sooner we create that support system for ourselves, the easier, the sooner it gets easier, I feel like.
Yeah. I've been seeing a lot of this, we don't need the one or the other to survive. And that's just not true. A lot of the time it's just clickbait. And, you think to yourself, now, this is not true. We all need human connection at some point in life. We are physical. I mean, we are loving beings. We need relationships. We need, even if it's just your partner, you need that cohesiveness. But also making the right relationships work. It's not all of them going to work. Making sure that you feel that it's right for you, and that's okay. It's not selfish. It's just making sure you're putting up healthy boundaries and protecting your inner sanctum, and that's okay. Everything else can be managed. But today, we all want to reconnect. And where can people connect with you if they want to do subconscious work? How can they connect with you? Yeah, what's the best way that they could do that?
The best two places to connect with me is either on Instagram. Just follow me on Instagram, send me a message, and then we can just talk about where you're at, if you need any support, or even if you just want to talk about or share your experience. And also on LinkedIn, in case you're not someone who uses Instagram. Like, these two places are the best. Just connect, shoot me a message, and then from there we can talk.
Perfect. And links will be in the description of this podcast. So check it out. Support Christine's work. She's doing an amazing work, trying to uplift people from the root cause, the deeper cause of their subconscious. I love her work. Follow her. She's doing an amazing job. Thank you, Christine, for joining us today on the podcast, for sharing your insights. I know even if it reaches one person, I know we've done our job. So thank you so much, Christine, for joining us today. Remember, guys, you know the drill. Like, share, subscribe, comment, all the good stuff that helps this podcast grow. I will be back again with another episode soon. But today, we live with love and light, and that's the message of today. So thank you so much, Christine. Before we close off, anything you'd like to add before we close off the podcast?
Just thank you. I think this was an amazing conversation. I think we got the main point across. Like, just come back to love and light. Everything else will fall into place. Just one step at a time, one step at a day, and like things will like change in ways you can't even imagine.
I agree. Totally, 100%. But no, guys. Until the next one, love and light. Stay zen. Love you.
Bye-bye.